Hello, and thank you for watching Accelerate with Nerdio. In this video, I'm going to walk you through adding an account in the Nerdio Manager for MSP application. This video is part of a series walking through installing the NMM application, deploying your first account, and then creating and accessing a WVD desktop. So please check the video description for access to all of the content within this series, and always visit help.nerdio.net for access to all of our amazing videos and articles. And with that, let's jump right in. So I'm going to go ahead and add an account, right? We're in our main landing page, which is Nerdio Manager for MSP. We can have multiple accounts that we might be managing, and we have some different options for what constitutes adding an account. Now, first and foremost, you're going to need access to an Azure AD tenant, and the account you connect with is going to need to be a global admin and have the subscription owner role. So I've gone ahead and taken care of that. I'm going to hit connect. In my scenario as well, I'm going to be provisioning what we call greenfield, or net new everything. So no existing resources that are going to be used. All right, we're going to consent to permissions and hit accept. Okay, and we'll see this is broken out over 4 parts. We'll kind of walk through them one at a time. As I mentioned, we've linked to the Azure AD tenant. We can see that we've got a time to live for that. We've got our account name, which is what would show up in the portal, right, from a management perspective. So let's just call this our demo account. I'm going to choose the subscription that I'm going to either find or build the resources into, right? In this case, we're building new resources. We'll use this Azure subscription, and as we can see, we can either create new Azure Active Directory domain services, we can use existing Active Directory, or we can use existing Azure Active Directory domain services. So I'm going to choose Create New for this demo example, and I'll hit Save and Next. And I'll mention each of these 4 steps has a different amount of time they're going to take. We'll kind of discuss those as we go. This first step should only take a minute or two to complete. And there we go. We've jumped right into the networking step. So again, we're going to create net new as opposed to using anything existing. So first, let's choose the region where our primary resources will be located, like desktops or infrastructure if needed. So I'm going to say West US. Next, I'm not going to use an existing resource group. We'll create one for this demo example. So we've got create new, and let's call that demo RG. Next, we're going to set up a VNet, right, to start to tie these things together, including the Azure ADDS. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this network. I'm going to use the default schemas that we saw here. We'll call this LAN and 10.0.0/24. Now this step will probably take 2 to 5 minutes. We'll hit save and next, and I'm going to go ahead and hit pause for just a moment. Before I do though, I want to point out you will have these logs down here for tasks, and you'll be able to see these tasks in real time as they go through each step. And we'll kind of look at these as at the end of this one completing. Yep, there we go. They're kicking off right now. I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, and that actually only took about a minute. So we can see that this is completed. I'll hit close, and we'll see that we're on step 3. Now again, this step would differ depending on what you chose in step 1, right? In our case, we said new Azure ADDS, and so we're going to walk through automating that. Name for new domain, it's going to choose my underlying domain associated with the tenant. I don't have any vanity domains, so we'll just start with that. I'm going to create a domain admin, and since my video series is called Accelerate, let's call it the Accelerate admin, and we'll go ahead and put a password in here. I ask that nobody look at this while I'm typing. Just kidding. Okay, let's save it. Now this will take a while. So creating Azure ADDS natively in Azure normally takes about 60 to 90 minutes. So we're going to let this run, and through the magic of video editing, I'm going to hit pause, and I'll see you in about an hour. I just wanted to quickly check in and kind of point out the progression here. So we've had about 40 minutes of runtime. We can see all of the actions that have been done in this environment so far, and then we can see that we're waiting on those ADDS functionalities to finish. I'll go ahead and hit pause again and see you in just a moment. Okay, this is completed successfully. And we can now move on to step 4. And this is where we can define or create the storage that will be used for FS Logic profile containers. So what that means for you as the MSP, right, is you're going to be delivering WVD desktops, and you're going to likely be leveraging FS Logic. So we have three choices here. And again, with our greenfield focus, we're going to end up creating a new Azure file share for it. But you could use an existing Azure file share. Or you could point back to a UNC path on a server in Azure. Specifically, you want to be within that same VNet, right? We want to have the closest travel point between the desktops and the FS Logic server. But again, in our case, we'll do a new Azure file share. I'm going to click Add. Let's go ahead and name the storage account, and I'll use my Accelerate, and we'll say NMM and SA. So the one thing I really want to point out here is this performance section. There is standard and premium Azure file storage that can be set up. There is a cost difference and a performance difference between them. We recommend premium, and I will just kind of stop there and suggest you absolutely do your research on both of these from a cost and delivery standpoint. And again, premium is going to give you the fastest throughput, which is going to make sure that those profiles are operating and accessed as quickly as possible. Now, there is also one other metric there, which is going to be the provision capacity. You will see an increase in performance the larger the capacity. Again, we definitely recommend doing your research on the Microsoft side to understand those selections. So we'll go ahead and name the file share, and I'm just going to call it FS Logics. And I'm actually going to go ahead and define a group for this. I should have an all user group. There we go. And so that will give everyone at least access to the file share, and then we can define permissions later on. So we'll hit OK. We can see that it's pointed back to that share. We see our quota. I can hit save and done. This next step will just take a few minutes. And again, we can also watch those details. Give this a second here to refresh. And we can see it's going through those job parameters. It's creating that storage account. And there we go. The account has created successfully. And let's just take a quick look here, right? I've got an ID. It's my first account in Nerdio Manager for MSP. I've got a name. I've got some additional info about the tenant, the subscription, the region, and the identity. And then there's a lot of different things we can do from a management perspective, which we're going to go into in the next video. Again, please visit help.nerdio.net for access to all of our content, and thank you.